Hello, everybody, and welcome back to Halftime Oranges. The first part of this morning's podcast will be going through the Saturday games, starting with Manchester City versus Arsenal, Stefan, the early kickoff.
Yeah, so Arsenal victorious midweek in the League Cup, albeit against a weakened West Brom reserve team. But a lot of positives here for Mikel Arteta and Arsenal. They were now 6-0 winners with Lacazette, Pepe, and Aubameyang on the score sheet, with Aubameyang actually getting a hat-trick. And there were full debuts as well for Odegaard and Ramsdale. So all of a sudden, things are looking a little bit brighter for Arsenal, and they've got a few more options up front. It'd be interesting to see which options he goes with, whether I'm thinking maybe to go with Aubameyang, with Odegaard in behind, and then Saka and Pepe out wide, and maybe start Lacazette from the bench. For City, Foden's still out. Kevin De Bruyne is still a doubt, and Stone's not ready. So we can expect to see Laporte and Diaz at centre-back. Gabriel Jesus has told Pep that he prefers to play in that right-sided position. And we saw how effective that was against Norwich last week. But obviously, with no recognised striker, they've still got Torres there, and they failed to get Kane in this week. I don't know if they're linked to another striker, Arran. I haven't heard much about that.
Nothing about that.
So needs must, he might go with Jesus on the right. Or might even go through the middle, with Mahrez and Sterling off of him, and maybe Grealish could slot back into that midfield role that we saw him play against Tottenham. I think whichever combination of forward players he goes with, it would be too strong ultimately for Arsenal, as they still got no Ben White or Gabriel at centre-back. So it's looking like Mari had an awful game up against Lukaku, and Holding at centre-back. And I think City will be too strong here for Arsenal, I'm afraid. But maybe not a cakewalk after Arsenal's encouraging performance last week. So I think City to win this one.
Yeah, nothing more to add. I think I think it will be a relative cakewalk, if I'm being honest. At least a slice of cake. Yes.
And there's Ben White's back in Ben White's back in training now for Arsenal as well, but I don't think he's going to make this game either. So it's very much a patched up job for Arsenal at the back, and I think they're going to suffer from that.
Maybe they'll actually score a goal though. Maybe Aubameyang scoring a hat trick.
They got six. Yeah, they got six, didn't they, against West Brom? So he's got to be a bit hungry for goals now. But I mean, West Brom, Man City, it's like chalk and cheese, isn't it? So
maybe a 3-1.
Yeah. Oh, it could be 5 or 6. To be perfectly honest with you.
All right, then let's move on. Clive, Aston Villa against Brentford.
It's going to be interesting to see if what Dean Smith says in this press conference later today about Ollie Watkins. I mean, I'm really keen to see how the partnership between Watkins and Danny Ings starts, to be honest. I think we might see that against Brentford. And Brentford, 2 clean sheets. Ivan Toney's not got off the mark yet, but they do look a very well-drilled, formidable side. But, Villa going forward looked like, even without Watkins, that they were starting to click a little bit. Leon Bailey's now starting to come into a bit of fitness. Buendia's just playing just behind Danny Ings. El Ghazi got a penalty against Newcastle last week. I can see if Watkins starts, Villa starting to hit a bit of form, and they need it because their next 4 games. I mean, after Brentford at home, they've got Chelsea away, and then I think they're playing Spurs and Man United in a very tough run of fixtures after this one. So a win for Villa, very important here. It's going to be interesting also to sort of see how Mbeumo lines up for Brentford. He's been playing sort of a bit more advanced than Tony. Tony's been playing a very deep role, especially for Palace, against Palace in the last game. I can see Villa winning this one, to be honest, 2 or 3-0.
Yeah, I think they've been quite clinical, Villa, haven't they? I think they've scored their 4 goals. They've all come from 4 shots on target. So that tells you everything about Danny Ings pressing in front of goal. I think Brentford yet to concede, aren't they? But I think Danny Ings will prove the difference today. And I think Villa winning out comfortable winners in this one.
Yeah, I wouldn't go comfortable, but I think, it's hard to see past Aston Villa. It will be interesting, though, like Clive was talking about. Will Watkins upset the apple cart a little bit? Because Ings played really well. And Mr. Sneaky Underpants got a great goal. That overhead kick, where did that come from? Incredible goal by Ings. But yeah, I think playing them together will be interesting to see. Can they get in behind that sturdy defence of Brentford? We'll see, but I think so.
Well,
I think so. Palace almost scored, didn't they, last weekend? I mean, if they had someone of Ings quality in that team, they probably would have bagged. I mean, that's difficult to say, but I would have gone for it.
It's interesting you mentioned that goal that Danny Ings scored. It came from a long throw in, and Brentford have got some height in the back four. They've got Aya from Celtic, and they've got Pontus Jansson as well at centre backs. So that kind of tactic might not pay off so well. I think they're going to have to be a bit more direct down the middle against Brentford. But it's going to be interesting. One to watch in terms of getting forward as well for Brentford is Ethan Pinnock as well. I think he's a great little wing back for Brentford as well.
Yeah, and you said you mentioned Buendia. I think it's time for him to step up. He's been pretty irrelevant in his first 2 games, so I think this could be the sort of game where we see him putting on.
Hopefully, for Buendia, yeah.
All right, let's move on though. Stefan, your beloved Brighton versus Neil Maupay's future club, Everton.
Less of that. There's no need for that. So yeah, Brighton in 4th at the moment. So nosebleed time. Obviously, if it ends up this way in May, we'll have to play that qualifying game to get into the Champions League. So obviously, we'd be looking to finish higher than that. But in all seriousness, it took us 8 games last year to get these 6 points on the board. So that shows you what a great start we've had. We put out the kids midweek against Cardiff and got a 2-0 win. So it's 3 wins from 3. And in terms of our league lineup, there's no need to change things too drastically from last week. I expect Shane Duffy to continue at centre-back in the 3 with Dunk and Webster. As we spoke about last time, Maupay is a doubt. Welbeck could be on the bench at best, which means we're going probably with Arran Connolly up top. And you've probably seen him play, Aaron, judging by the look on your face there. So he probably isn't at this stage. He's probably not a Premier League player, wouldn't get in too many starting 11s. Zakiri scored midweek against Cardiff. He's more of a winger, really, but I suppose Potter could go with him. But I see him putting faith in Arran Connolly, which compounds our striker crisis. So if there ever was a message to the board to go and back Graham Potter and go and get this Darwin Núñez deal over the line, it's evident from our starting 11, I think, on Saturday. We are linked as well to our left back, Cusarella, Spanish left back, played in the Olympics recently. And those are the 2 deals that Brighton are looking to get over the line by the middle of next week. You can expect Brighton to dominate possession with Everton lining up with that 4-4-2. Pressure on the back 3 to stop the cross, as you said, Aaron. But up against Webster, Dunk and Duffy, they're giants of the game, really, aren't they? All 6 foot plus centre backs. I just wonder if Everton will be able to penetrate. Obviously, the story off the pitch is linked to Neil Maupay going to Everton. But I don't really see how they're going to be able to get that deal done. I don't think Brighton will sell that. That would be ridiculous if Brighton were to sell that maybe their only fit, recognised striker in Neil Maupay. And I think it might be relying on Everton having to sell themselves. I did see this morning that
wasn't it? It was FFP related. They couldn't get
exactly.
over the line.
They're constraints, haven't they?
But yeah, we'll talk about more of that about that in part 2 anyway when we round up the transfers.
Yeah, well, Everton had a good result midweek away at Huddersfield. I think Michael Keane was a mistake again. Had a mistake again. Sorry, so that's 3-3. But now Godfrey is available. So I'd imagine that Godfrey would come back in and Everton would look a bit more surer at the back. It'd be interesting to see if he goes with Iwobi or Andros Townsend. I know that Iwobi started away at Leeds and then Townsend came on as a sub. So I wonder which one he goes with. DCL on good form, but he's up against a very, very, very tough Brighton defence. Everton have never won at the Amex in 4 attempts. So I don't know. This is Brighton's toughest test, but at the same time, I think this is Everton's toughest test as well. And I could see this being a draw. But as a Brighton fan, I'm going to say we make history. We make it 3 wins from 3, and Brighton edge this one at the Amex.
Yeah, I'm going to go goose eggs. A team with no strikers versus the team with with great defense. So, yeah, 0-0, 0-0. Last game of match of the day.
I can see Brighton keeping a clean sheet. The home record defensively is just brilliant, and the renaissance of Shane Duffy. Everton last season didn't travel that well either, did they?
Yeah.
So it's going to be a good one. It's going to be a good one. I do fancy Brighton to edge it though, especially being at home.
Yeah, I don't know where that goal is going to come from though, Clive, because like Arran Connolly, I'm not a Brighton fan, but I have watched
He
a few of the
got-
games.
he
He
got-
is
he got-
piss poor.
He
He shouldn't be in any
did
Premier
chip-
League team. I'm sorry. He's awful.
did get one
Do you
or
concur,
two.
Stefan? Do you
He
concur?
had a
Come on, don't be
Rooney-esque
nice.
debut. So
Oh,
a couple
really?
of years ago,
Wait, Shag the Granny?
a couple of years ago, he scored 2 at home to Tottenham, and that was
okay.
it.
Right.
But he's sort of dining out on them 2 goals, I'm afraid. So yeah, we've never seen him as a lone striker. He's always been.
But more pace
pace.
back in training now, though, isn't he?
He might feature. So
But
I think that's key to this game. So if Neil Morpace starts, Brighton have a much better chance of winning this. And if we can introduce Welbeck from the bench, we'll have a much better chance. But yeah, where does that goal come from? Probably a Shane Duffy or a dunk set piece, I'd imagine, Aaron.
Oh.
Or just put a load of naked grannies behind the goal and see.
There is that as well. He's looking at
emulate Rooney. Yeah.
All right. Well, moving on from naked grannies to Steve Bruce.
Why not?
Newcastle versus Southampton.
Naked grandfathers.
All right, Newcastle versus Southampton, 3:00 kickoff. Newcastle lost on penalties to Burnley midweek in the EFL Cup. Almiron, Willock, and St. Maximin didn't start that game. However, they did come on I think it was around the 70th or 80th minute mark, and Almiron and St. Maximin missed penalties. So yeah, Burnley won that game on penalties. It's not been a great start, has it, for Newcastle or Steve Bruce? However, Newcastle sort of dominated that game. 18 attempts on goal as opposed to Burnley's 6. I'm going to say that Newcastle are probably going to go with the 3-5-3. Fernandes, Lascelles, and Clark.
3-5-3.
Yeah,
they allowed an extra player.
That one, Aaron. Yeah,
sorry, 3-5-2.
3-5-2.
Just testing you, good. Fernandes, Lascelles, and Clark, Murphy, Richie. Then you've got Willock. Longstaff will probably start in midfield because Hayden still looks like he's doubtful. Almiron will play, and then we'll have St. Maximin and Wilson up top for Newcastle. Southampton, they had an away win at Newport, an 8-0, which I think is a club record victory for an away performance. McCarthy.
Eluacy came back from his loan at Celtic to score in that one as well, which is interesting.
Who did, sorry?
Eluacy.
Yes.
Who was on loan.
He got a hat-trick. Yeah. Yeah.
So yeah.
McCarthy in net, Livramento, Perro, wing backs. Then you've got Salisu and Bednarak. Then, like you said, Clive, Al-Yunusi on the wing with Romo, Ward-Prowse and Gineppo, and then Armstrong and Shea Adams up top. Southampton have lost their last 6 away games, but like I said, they will be surely buoyed by the week that they've had. A great performance against United, and then that 8-0 away victory at Newport. And they've also signed a new centre-back, Lianco, who probably won't start, probably won't be involved at all, to be honest. But yeah, it's been a great week for Southampton, who currently sit in 14th place. Newcastle are in 18th. However, the last 4 games for Newcastle against Southampton at St. James's Park, Newcastle have won. However, this time round, I really think this is a toss-up. But Southampton seems to be coming into a little bit of form, and they seem to be looking a little bit more sturdy now after that. Like I said, the week they had. I hope if they play like they did against Man United and let Newcastle come onto them and then try and counter, I feel like they've got a really good chance, actually. And in fact, I'm going to go with a Southampton win. I think they could sneak this one. I really do. Because Newcastle are just not playing well. They're off form. They look a little bit shambolic, if I'm being honest. Sorry?
They don't create many chances, though,
Southampton. They don't. I was about to say, they need to take those few chances that they will get. They will get a few chances, and it'll be up to Armstrong and Shea Adams. Maybe a Ward-Prowse free kick, who knows? But yeah, I feel like Southampton could sneak this one. I think they've got every chance. It's funny because I think both managers will prepare pretty much the same team talk. It's like, it's a good time to play these. They're not doing very well, but only one can win. And I think Southampton could edge it. I mean, it could be a draw. Let's face it. It could be a horrible game. But I really do think Southampton have got
I think there'll be goals in this one. I think Armstrong and Wilson. But I do wonder if St. Maximin's going to dance around Southampton's defence and cause them all kinds of panic. I mean, Salisu didn't look very good in his last couple of games. I mean, Lianco also been brought in, but I mean, he wasn't exactly an ever-present for Torino. So, I mean, I think it's just a case of getting that body in at centre-back in case they do need to make changes.
However, he did say it was his dream to play for Southampton.
I mean, we all have dreams, don't we?
Yeah.
You know,
He didn't know where it was. I'm not having that.
Yeah, but yeah, I think it's going to be. So it could go either way. This one, to be honest, I think whoever does get it, it's going to be a crucial 3 points come the end of the season, because both of these are going to be down there. I'm going to go with the Newcastle win, to be honest with you.
You are right.
purely because I don't want to see the Newcastle fans just tear Steve Bruce to bits.
Even if they will, they will. Even if they win, they will probably find something wrong with him.
Well, I mean, yeah, it's just
they've had a bad week. Newcastle fans have kind of demanded a cup run from Steve Bruce, and he didn't put out a strong team, or strongish team, and they've gone out on penalties to Burnley.
They haven't got that team to put out, have they? They haven't got the squad. You know, I mean,
well, you'd think he'd go with St. Maximin, right, if he wanted to win the game.
But St. Maximin gets injured, which he's got a history of doing. If he's got a history of doing, then that's their number one creativity player out. So I could. Newcastle fans probably want many things, but I mean, such as Saudi Arabian owners, and they're probably not going to get those either. And until Mike Ashley does leave that club, they're stuck with what they've got, and they have to just. The one thing Newcastle fans need to hope and pray for is that nothing happens to St. Maximin, Wilson, or Willock, and probably Matt Ritchie between now and the end of the season. Because if it does, they're going to be in serious trouble. I can't see them adding to any areas in the next 3 or 4 days. So yeah, it's down to the coaching staff. Sorry,
bleak outlook is what you're saying, basically.
I wouldn't say it's. I think there's 3 worse teams than Newcastle in that league.
Yeah, I think so too.
And I think that is the only thing that will save Steve Bruce, unless they go on a tragic run and end up in the bottom 3. But then, who in their right mind would take that job at Newcastle? Nobody. So it's a case of
Joe Kinnear still available.
Yeah. I mean, every journalist is quaking in their boots and Joe Kinnear possibly coming back to Newcastle. But
maybe Shearer can come back and do what he did last time. You know, save the club.
I mean, Shearer's best role is in the dugout at BBC, probably, because I mean, he took them down. You know, I mean,
I know. That's what I was saying.
Didn't Benitez come in after? No, Benitez didn't come in after that. It was Chris Hughton.
Houghton took him up.
Yeah. It's just, case of careful what you wish for. I think at Newcastle, they've got to get behind the team. They've got to get behind the manager, because.
But you're saying they're going to win this weekend, so everything's going to be.
I think they will, because good. I think Southampton are one of those sides that are candidates for one of the 3 worse teams than Newcastle. At least with Newcastle, they have proven players in Wilson, in St. Maximin, in Matt Ritchie, in Joe Willock, who will probably do enough to keep them up this season.
Yeah, I think so too.
But it's games like this they've got to win if that's going to happen.
Yeah, big day for Armstrong against his old club. I can see Southampton edging this and compounding Steve Bruce's misery. So I think a good week for Southampton. I think away win, both teams to score.
What would, if they did draw, would that be a better result for Southampton than Newcastle? You would have to say that,
definitely.
Wouldn't you? Yeah.
Definitely.
Yeah.
Definitely. All day long.
All right, Clive. Norwich against Leicester City.
Well, Vestergaard's out for this one. And the worrying thing for Leicester is low defence, really. Bertrand started training again. He is in contention, but I'd say it's 50-50 if he plays. Timothy Castagna is looking like he's fit, and I think he may come in at centre-back. How Rodgers lines up that defence, whether he goes with the back 3 of Castagna, Soyuncu and Amati, could possibly favour him, because Soyuncu just looks totally and utterly bewildered when he doesn't have an experienced head next to him, and Amati just doesn't simply provide that. So I expect changes in defence. He may decide that Bertrand's a better option and offers a bit more experience at left back instead of the young Luke Thomas. Piera, without a doubt, will start at right back. And then it's a case of Piera's obviously misses the next 3 after his straight red against West Ham. So I would hope that he goes with a top 2. I hope Iheanacho starts against Norwich with Vardy up front. And then Barnes, instead of cutting inside, just needs to stay on the wing and deliver the balls in the box to one of those 2. Midfield wise, I mean, Leicester probably need to be a bit more adventurous. I mean, as I mentioned in the last episode, like before West Ham scored, we had the 100, 200 touches all in the centre of the park and knocking it between Soanchu, Amati, Tielemans and Maddison, and not really doing anything with it. They've got to be a bit more attacking. They've got to be a bit, look to penetrate Norwich, which everybody's been doing at the moment. I can see us conceding though against Norwich. I mean, Norwich haven't scored yet, but I mean, there's going to come a point where they are going to, and it would just be in typical Leicester fashion for them to do so. But I just think Norwich's defence probably won't cope with Nacho and Vardy together. So I think that's what Rodgers has to go with. It won't be a cakewalk for Leicester this one. I think Norwich will do absolutely everything to avoid another hammering. So I can see Leicester possibly edging this one 2-1, 3-1. And hopefully, before we'll talk about this a bit more later, maybe another defender possibly coming in, because we are very light in that area.
Yeah, I don't know. I see so many problems in that Norwich defence. And you say they'll try and avoid another whipping, but I don't see how they will. I think Brendan Rodgers will look at that and just see them as, I say, tactically naive. That I think the management structure at Norwich, they come out and said they see themselves as a top 26 club, meaning they're happy to get relegated and then be in the playoffs. Which
I've never heard
that's
that
just
before.
setting them up for
that's terrible
for failure, right? So yeah, it's basically saying if you go down, it's absolutely fine, and that's coming from the top. I don't see any hope for Norwich here. I think this is I think Leicester bounce back here, a comfortable away win.
Yeah, I'm with you. I think City gave them a hammering, which is of course makes sense because they're a much better team. West Ham played really well, didn't they, again? But Leicester were a man down. I don't think it's panic stations for Leicester at all. And I think, like you said, Stefan, they'll bounce back and they'll beat Norwich comfortably. Maybe it won't be as comfortably as, a 3 or 4-1, but 2-0, potentially a 2-1, Clive, if you think that Leicester are still weak at the back.
I think we'll win this one. I just think that we look shaky at the back, and I think that then reverberates around the rest of the team a little bit. And I just think this tactic that we relied on and have relied on so much away from home over the last 2 or 3 seasons, where it's just soak up all the possession from the opposition and just break with Vardy at the top. I think that's that. I think we've got to evolve from that a little bit now. I think with Daka coming in and Iheanacho coming in, I think sides are just going to expect that from us. And West Ham very much did. Even before the sending off, Leicester didn't create anything at all, despite having the majority of the possession against West Ham. And they need to look at a bit of a plan B in how to break tides down away from home, because I think with home fans being back now and all away fans as well, but the onus now is on the home team to make sure they grind out a point at least, and hopefully 3. Leicester need to change that tactic a little bit. So it's going to be interesting. Hope Iheanacho starts on Saturday. If he does, I think we'll win.
All right, let's move on now. West Ham against Crystal Palace. West Ham defeated Stockport County away in the Cup this week by only 1 goal, though, and it was at the 83rd minute they got that goal. They did start that game with Antonio, Benrahma, Rice, Dawson, and Agbona. So 5 of the starting 11 that you would expect them to play this week against Crystal Palace started. I think they'll also go with pretty much the same team that beat Leicester: Fabianski, Kufel, Dawson, Agbona, and Cresswell, Souček and Rice, Bowen, Fornells, Benrahma, and of course the man of the moment at the moment. 3 goals with 2 assists he's had so far is Mr. Antonio. Crystal Palace, they were knocked out of the League Cup on Tuesday by Watford. Ashley Fletcher got that goal. They didn't score again. 3 games now with 0 goals. Zaha played in that game. Gallagher also played, Kouyaté and Schlupp. And I think we're starting to see Vieira panic a little bit now, because he doesn't know his best formation. I don't know if he knows his best starting 11 either. I think this is going to be a comfortable victory for West Ham. They haven't won against Crystal Palace in the league at home in the last 2 seasons. It's a 1-1 draw, and then 2 years ago it was a 2-1 victory for Palace. But I can't see anything but a West Ham victory this time around. Maybe 3-0, 4-0. I think it's going to be easy for them. I really do.
I'm not so sure, because West Ham do have this habit of imploding, don't they? Now and again.
Only if they haven't got... the implode, don't they, usually, when players are injured and they have to bring in players that are lesser than them.
Well,
and I feel like they've got a really good nucleus of a squad now. That starting 11 pretty much picks itself. And if they all stay fit, which they won't do throughout the season, that's inevitable. But at the moment, right now, they are fit and they're playing against a really piss-poor Crystal Palace team who are dreadful with a terrible manager. So I'm going to go 3-0.
No, I can see Palace nicking a draw here. I think it's a matter of time until...
Based on what? Where did
based
that come
on
from?
West Ham have only beaten them once in the last 8 years. Like you said, I mean, Palace ran away with a 2-1 win last season. I can see Palace nicking a draw here, probably getting their first points on the board.
You have to remember, Clive, as well, the last two Premier League games, they've scored 4 in each of those games. 4 against Newcastle away and 4 at home to Leicester. And you think that Crystal Palace are going to stop that from happening? I don't think so, man. No chance.
Antonio played midweek, right?
He did. He did. Yeah, he did. Yeah.
See, it's a matter of time until
I know.
They need to manage him a little bit because his hamstrings will go at some point. It's the same as Callum Wilson, you know. I mean, they need to gain management, and we'll talk a bit more about it later. But it looks like he will probably end up playing in at least one of Jamaica's World Cup qualifier games. I mean, that's after this Palace game, but at some point, I think Palace will sort of gel a little bit better.
I guess we saw a little bit of that against Brentford. I mean, they did create, they did hit the bar, but against West Ham...
I mean, Benteke was out for the cup game. No Tyrick Mitchell as well.
It's goals, though, right? That's where they're going to struggle, Palace.
I mean, yeah. Maybe
Zaha and creating.
Look at... Yeah, I mean, it's like I say, if Zaha turns up, I mean, he might nick 1 or 2 against West Ham. No, I can see Palace getting
Zaha is not a player you can rely on, though.
No,
he's not a player
goals. You need other players around him who are going to play well also.
Yeah, he hasn't had a shot on target this season so far.
I mean, he probably should have scored against Chelsea. Sorry, Stefan. He probably should have scored against Chelsea. He went 1-on-1 and just terrible touch and then just basically scuffed the shot.
Well, he's always played in patches. He seemed to reserve his best games for when he's playing against Brighton and Hove Albion. This is the first window where he hasn't been linked. You've got to think about that in 3 or 4 years to a big club. And I wonder if that's something to do with his motivation or if he's happy there. And I think West Ham, everything's looking rosy for West Ham. If they get this Kurt Zuma deal done, it looks like it is done. And it's a big if they could get Lingard back as a sort of as a full striker for a cover for Antonio, I think West Ham are looking very, very good again. Yeah, I think this is a home win for West Ham.
Yeah.
Interesting to see if Elise actually kind of manages to replicate his Reading form in this one if he's fit.
Well, in Elise and Eze, they've got the 2 most exciting players in the Championship for the last 2 years. So that will make a difference when they come back for Palace.
Did he play against Brentford? I didn't notice if he managed to get on or not.
Who, Elise?
Brentford. Yeah.
Don't think so. I think he's still doubtful.
Don't think he did.
Yeah.
Yeah.
All right, let's move on to the Saturday evening game, Clive. Great game. An amazing game. Liverpool against Chelsea.
I mean, I think that Lukaku's going to really turn on the starlight. So this game's just destined for just so many goals. And Lukaku turns it on in the big games. You know, I just can see him, you know, being able to batter down Liverpool's defence. To be honest, I mean, in all the big 6 in Serie A last season,
you're making it sound easy.
Well, I think
against Van Dijk, you think it's going to be that easy? This isn't Rob Holding.
Was not impressed with Liverpool, to be honest, towards the end against Burnley, and I think Lukaku's just going to steamroller them. To be perfectly honest, I mean, Van Dijk better be ready. Matic better be ready because Lukaku just looks an unbelievably strong player, and not just when he's running it. I mean, the way he now has adapted his games, playing under Conte into Milan, and the way he plays with his back to goal. And is able to lay off the ball, the likes of Havertz, the likes of Ziyech, the likes of Mount, they're just going to be licking their lips. And then you've got wing-backs coming in like Alonso and Reece James who on the overlap. Liverpool really need to be, I mean, what's his name? Robertson's going to be coming back from injury. I mean, I hope he's ready as well because he's going to have some pace to deal with.
He's going to play. Robertson's.
It looks like he might be back. Be back.
Okay.
I just don't see Liverpool dealing with Chelsea's attack. at all. I can see like Chelsea nicking this one, maybe 3-2. To be honest with you, away from home, and just really, really upsetting Liverpool's aspirations of the league this season. I mean, Liverpool do have a very good side going forward, but at the back, I still see frailties in them. I really do. Although Alisson is probably one of the best goalkeepers you could wish for alongside Edison. I just think Lukaku's in the form of his life at the moment. I really can see him turning on the style against them at Anfield.
Yeah, I mean, it's a big day for Lukaku. It's how good we see he really is, how much he's changed, right, since he's been away. That battle against Virgil van Dijk, we'll also see how Van Dijk is after that recovery. I think, though, you talk about back to goal. If Liverpool can stop, if they can nullify that service into feet that was so readily available against Arsenal, if they can stop the service into him, they might have a bit of joy. You mentioned Robertson coming back. He's going to be up against Reece James on that right flank. Which is not an ideal first game back. Tuchel has got a good record against the big clubs, so that might play a factor. It'd be interesting to see who what's his name? Liverpool manager's name. Completely forgotten. Klopp. Jurgen, they're off. So who he sees as his
it's a yellow card offence,
that's
Stefan. One more of them and you're off.
Sorry, that's poor from me. So who he sees as those midfield three pairing, really? Is it going to be Keita, Fabinho and Henderson? Because he's going to need them up against that Chelsea midfield. I think this might be a really entertaining draw. I'm going to sit on the fence with this one, maybe a 1-1.
Yeah, I think it's going to be. I think it's a great game on paper, but I think it could end up being a boring one. I think it's going to be very tight. I think it's going to be all about each player battling in midfield. I do think Chelsea have a better central midfield now than Liverpool do overall, and I can see them winning that battle. But I do think that Liverpool's defense is very, very strong. I'm going to say it's going to be a boring 1-1. I think it's I really do.
They've always had good games, don't they, Liverpool, Chelsea? They're the two that always bring it out of each other, I think.
Well, that's my decision. I'm sticking with it.
No, I'm going to go with the Chelsea away win, and potentially a comfortable away win for Chelsea, to be honest with you.
All right, folks. Then, Stefan, got something to say before we leave? No?
You're right.
Okay, fair enough then.
Something about Jurgen Klopp, probably.
Saturday games done. We'll be back for part 2 with the Sunday games and also the transfer roundup. All right. So see you in a few minutes.